What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speak. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to talk about LeBron James and how I think that LeBron James probably when he inserted himself into this GOAT conversation with Michael Jordan or in basketball period, he probably I don't think LeBron James knew or anybody in his circle knew like how hard it was going to be for LeBron James to like the pushback, how hard it was going to be for LeBron James to to get people to buy into him being a GOAT. You know, you have fans push back immediately. Then you have peers of his who push back, and then ex-basketball players who push back. The media, the media, I believe, have an agenda, you know. So I'm not really counting the media, but I think LeBron James is finally realizing that he bit off a lot more than what he can chew, and that Mike fans and basketball fans in general are not going to allow LeBron James to cheat the game the way he did, flopping and uh jumping from team to team and bringing his son on into the league, allow him to do that and take shortcuts and call himself the GOAT, because it took a lot of work, in order for Mike to be able to become the GOAT. And for LeBron James to think that he could just become the GOAT just by saying he the GOAT, it just to me just seems that LeBron James had no idea what he was getting himself into. You know, when Kobe was chasing Mike, and as hard as Kobe worked and as dedicated as Kobe was, didn't, he still wasn't able to overcome Mike. But Kobe never, he chased rings. Kobe never chased that GOAT title and wanted to be known as the greatest. He never did that, right? And so that I believe has, as in my opinion, is blowing up in LeBron James' face. And I think right now LeBron James don't want no parts of that GOAT argument. So I ran across though a YouTube video where this guy just points out some red flags when it came to LeBron James and how it came to be, how he wanted to be the GOAT. And so I'm gonna play this video and then I'm gonna come back and give some of my reaction.
Today, everyone argues about the GOAT Jordan, LeBron, rings, stats. But here's the truth most fans ignore. Before Michael Jordan, there was no GOAT conversation. And after Jordan, someone wanted the throne. Before Jordan, legends existed, but dominance was split. Wilt had numbers, Russell had rings, Kareem had longevity, Magic and Bird had rivalry. No one owned everything at once. So debates ended quickly. There was respect, not obsession.
All right, so let me just reply to that, right? And because I remember Bird and Magic coming into the league, and that was good for the league. It helped to grow the league, but there was respect, even though those two fan bases, the Celtic fan base and the and the Laker fan base really didn't get along. Magic and Bird, they respected each other, and the fan bases, respect each other, right? So that's true, right? And it was
The NBA wasn't built for it. No 20.
It was just hard for any one person to dominate the league because it was parity at the same time, but you didn't have like one dominant basketball player who, not at that point. You had Bill Russell, you had Wilt Chamberlain, and all those guys brought different, they brought something different to the table as far as like what they brought to the league.
24/7 debate shows, no social media pressure, no ranking culture. Players didn't chase labels, they chased wins.
Flies in for this rebound. Under 4.5 minutes to go. Here's Jordan. Oh, yeah! There's the mustard shot by Michael. I thought he was going to pass it.
So, and what Mike brought to the table, you had Magic and Bird, you had Kareem, you had Wilt, you had Bill Russell. Mike brought to the table, like, this guy was dominant. Like, one person, like, when Mike was on top of his game, wasn't no conversation about who was the best basketball player in the league. It was Mike, and everybody in the league understood that. And for a lot of reasons, not just his work ethic. Mike did get some help, like the media pushed him forward, Nike. I mean, it was just a big campaign surrounding Mike. And not to say that Mike didn't work hard. Mike was a fanatic, a basketball fanatic, and a gym rat. So Mike earned everything that he got, right? So now, let's fast forward to LeBron James, the guy who wanted to take shortcuts.
Jordan changed the rules. He didn't just win. He blocked everyone else from winning. 6 finals, 6 wins, no game 7s, 1 era, 1 gatekeeper. For the first...
Just think about that. Charles Barkley, because of Michael Jordan, didn't get a ring. Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, it was some great basketball players, like guys who I like all of those guys. But if you had to go through Mike to get a ring, then you wasn't going to do it. It just was not going to happen, because Mike was just that dominant. And you can't say the same thing about LeBron James. Like Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, LeBron, I mean, Kobe Bryant got rings, on his watch. What's the big guy from the Mavericks? Dirk Nowitzki got, he just didn't stop anybody from getting. Steph Curry got rings, like he didn't block none of those guys from getting rings. He shared it. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that Mike was just on a different level. Mike was just dominant. Mike beat everybody. And I think that what Mike did in basketball, I don't think that will ever be duplicated. It was just the perfect storm, and LeBron James, I think, made a huge mistake by trying to compete with that instead of just trying to do his own thing and be LeBron James.
Time fans could say, that's the guy. Here's the uncomfortable part. LeBron didn't accidentally enter the GOAT debate. He aimed for it, from chosen one at 18 to controlling teams, narratives, and longevity. LeBron wanted to be compared to Jordan. No superstar before him openly lived in that space.
Myself against anybody that's ever played this game.
I think if as a basketball player or any athlete, if you are working, if you working hard to be successful, you don't really have time to promote yourself. That's like a whole separate job, and that's why LeBron James made so many mistakes, right? When you think about Tom Brady, like Tom Brady never campaigned against Joe Montana to be the greatest quarterback of. Tom Brady just played and focused on winning. That was it. And Joe Montana never wanted to, you never heard him compare himself to Terry Bradshaw or any other quarterback in the league that had success. They just focused on winning and putting in the work that it took to become successful in the league. LeBron James had he just divided himself between trying to be a promoter, a basketball player, and that's just a hard job.
But everyone's going to have their favorite. Everyone's going to, decide who their favorite.
Jordan became the GOAT organically. LeBron pursued the GOAT strategically. That doesn't make LeBron weak. It makes him self-aware in a modern era. But it changed how fans judge greatness. Jordan created the mountain, LeBron tried to climb it, in public. So the GOAT debate exists today, not because Jordan needed it, but because LeBron wanted it. So answer this honestly. Is the GOAT title something you become or something you chase? Jordan or LeBron?
And in my opinion, I agree that Mike became organically, and even Mike to this day will say he don't participate in the GOAT conversation because he didn't get to play against Jerry West. He didn't get to play against Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell and all those guys. So he can't definitively say that, all right, I beat those guys, I beat everybody. And, so how can you beat a GOAT? right? And so for LeBron James to fall into that trap, I just think that LeBron James, again, like I said, just bit off more than what he didn't really understand, like what was the pushback was going to be from everybody. And I mean, even with LeBron James supporters and his fans and everything backing him up, and it's just too much. I think it's just the pushback and the fallout is just too much. And LeBron James, to me, just seems like now he's backing off of that because people that he tried it, people people didn't buy it, and now he wants to back off because now they just scrutinize everything LeBron say, everything he do. It just put him in a position where he's just under the microscope, and it's hot.
Drop it in the comments.
I was super ecstatic to win one for Cleveland because of the 52-year drought. Like, I was ecstatic. Like, I was actually, the first wave of emotion was when everyone saw me crying. Like, that was all for 52 years. Everything in sports was going on in Cleveland. And then after I stopped, I was like, that one right there made you the greatest player of all time.
That to me is just, like I said, when LeBron James really put a bullseye on his back when he said that win in Cleveland made him the greatest of all time. Not even Cleveland. Like, Cleveland fans appreciate the fact that LeBron James won a championship for them. But even Cleveland Cavalier fans don't feel like LeBron James is the GOAT. And so, yeah, LeBron James bit off more than what he can chew and didn't understand what he was up against. I think what Mike did in the league, it was a perfect storm, and it can't be, that'll never be duplicated. So, everybody just had to write their own story, and the story of Michael Jordan can't be duplicated, in my opinion. So, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.